This lobster stuffed burger made with a garlic butter mayo came out better than I ever could have imagined.
It should cost $1 billion to look this good.
Listen, I'm not trying to keep you long, so let's just go ahead and get up into this recipe. We're gonna start with our garlic butter mayo because we wanna let that sit. The longer you let it sit, the more those flavors are going to come together. I don't usually measure like my sauces, I just kinda add the ingredients and I eyeball it and I know how much to add, okay? So for the garlic butter mayo, I start with some melted butter, followed by some garlic paste. I chose garlic paste because it's more potent, more concentrated garlic flavor, so it just pops. It pops more, you know what I mean? You could use freshly chopped garlic or garlic powder and it'll be just fine. I then give that a nice whisk, okay, because that's gonna be my base, the garlic butter for the garlic butter mayo. You know it, okay. Next up, I add a little truffle oil because I love truffle oil with seafood and with a lot of different things for that matter. Okay, now you know what they say about truffle oil, a little goes a long way, so don't overdo it. You know what I mean? Add a squeeze of some fresh lemon juice. This lemon juice is gonna brighten up this mayo. It's gonna give it a nice zing. You know what I'm saying? You do. I knew you did. Next up, I added some freshly chopped tarragon. Tarragon pairs nicely with lobster, okay? Trust me. Next, I grated up some fresh Parmesan and got that up in the mix. Followed by a little salt, and of course, some mayo. Give that a nice whisk it all together, and then set it to the side. I left mine at room temp because it's butter involved, so if you put it in the fridge, it will harden. But if it does harden, that's fine because we're gonna take it out later and add it to our hot burger, and so it's just gonna melt all over it, so either way is fine. Now for one of the stars, the lobster, okay? I got a lobster tail, got it nice and thawed in some cold water. I then grabbed some kitchen shears and cut down the middle of the lobster tail. Remove that meat, add some Old Bay seasoning to it, then chop it up into some thick chunks. Okay, you want them thickums, all right? Because you want to taste that lobster that's gonna be stuffed up into that burger. You know what? Okay. I then added some butter to a skillet, and then I got my lobster in there and I cook it for a little bit. You don't want to overcook it because you don't want rubbery lobster. Okay, so just cook it for a couple minutes. Keep an eye on it. Don't put it in a pan and walk away. Just stay there and watch over it. Okay, you gotta babysit this lobster. Okay, and nurture her. You okay? I then remove it from the heat and let it cool. While my lobster is cooling, I'm gonna make the rest of my filling that's gonna be stuffed up into my burger. Starting with some room temp cream cheese so that it's easier to handle. Grate some Parmesan cheese. Got some mild white cheddar. Don't want a sharp cheddar because I don't want it overpowering my lobster, okay? The lobster has to be the star here, okay? We can't have her fighting for the spotlight, okay? Mild white cheddar. I add a little mayo. I chopped up some fresh chives, followed by some chopped roasted red peppers. I love using these in sauces and fillings like this. You get that char and that flavor from the peppers and complements the lobster so beautifully. They're friends, okay? The peppers ain't competing with the lobster, okay? The lobster is still very much the star. I then add some garlic powder, some onion powder, followed by my cooled lobster. Mix it up nicely and get it up into your freezer so that it's nice and firm. It's time for the other star, the burger. Got some fresh ground beef. Get that up into a bowl, and I keep it very simple with the burger, okay? Because it's fresh ground beef, okay? So you don't need to do too much to it, all right? It's gonna shine on its own. All you gotta do is add a little flavor to it. For flavor, I simply added some salt and pepper. You wanna gently mix because you don't wanna overmix your ground beef because then it's gonna be tough, and we don't want no tough burger, all right? After you've mixed your ground beef, go ahead and form 2 thin patties. Now, if you need some guidance with forming your patties, I say look at the size of your burger buns, okay? Compare your patties to your buns. You don't want them smaller than your buns, and you don't want them too much bigger than your buns, okay? Remember, when you cook your burger, it's gonna shrink a little, so keep that in mind, all right? After your patties are formed, take your lobster filling from out of the freezer and add some to one of your patties. You don't want to add too much because you don't want that stuffing to come out. You don't want to add too little either because you want to taste that lobster filling and you want it oozing out, okay? You want it gushing out when you cut it open, okay? So somewhere in the middle. You then seal the burger with your other patty. Make sure that lobster filling is sealed in. Okay, you want her to be signed, sealed, and delivered. You don't want her peeking out. You don't want her dripping out, okay? Just play around with it until it's nicely sealed. This kind of gives like clay therapy. It's something therapeutic about it. Next, you want to preheat your oven to 400 degrees because after we sear this burger, we're going to get her up into the oven to finish fully cooking. And yes, it's gonna be well done because you gotta cook it all the way through so that you can melt that filling, that center, okay? It's gonna be juicy and delicious, trust me. I then add some butter and oil to a cast iron skillet because you know the cast iron, it just holds more heat and I want a good sear on that burger. You also want to use a pan that is oven safe because we are, again, gonna pop this up into the oven after searing. Sear that burger for about 4 minutes on each side. I got a good crust up on there. You see that? You see that crust. You see it. You really want to try to avoid the filling from leaking out. Mine leaked out a little bit, but it wasn't too much, so it wasn't bad at all. After you sear your burger on both sides, you want to get her up into the oven for about 5 minutes, okay? And let her finish cooking. I would say 5 to 7-ish minutes, okay? You then take it out the oven and let it rest for about 7 minutes, okay? Let her rest, let those juices settle, let that filling settle so it's not all escaping from you when you cut it open. And now, my favorite part, it's time to assemble. Get your toasted bun, followed by some of that garlic butter mayo. I added lettuce and tomato, but you can add whatever condiments you want. Get that beautifully seared burger on there, followed by more of that garlic butter mayo, and that is it. Put your top bun up on there and cut into that beautiful lobster-stuffed cheeseburger. It's just gorgeous, it's fabulous, okay? And it's gonna taste delicious, all right? And I'm gonna say that I highly recommend. And then I'm gonna say that if you enjoyed this video or if you learned anything or if you plan on trying this recipe or you just enjoyed watching me act a fool, then be sure to like, share, subscribe, click that notifications bell because I will be back. I sure will, and I'm gonna see you next time.